Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. I am Brianna. I am your host, and I'm very glad that you're here. It is New Year's Eve today, and it is wild. I'm feeling very tired in my body, and I just realized that as I started recording. So let's hope for the best here. Um, how was your Christmas? How was your holiday season? How are you feeling going into the new year? What is coming up for you? Are we excited? Are we anxious? Are we resistant? What are we feeling? Because I don't know, 2025 feels like it feels actually really positive to me. It feels like almost a year of reaping, a year of um, harvesting, a year of kind of enjoying all that we have been moving through and working towards and just like settling into. Feels like a new vibe, a new energy. So I'm hoping that that feels good going forward. But I didn't do a podcast last week because I was kind of deep in the holiday mode and there was a lot going on, like internally and also just externally. It's just a busy time, but it was wild. Like the amount of things to do, the Christmas concerts, the dance recitals, the just like days to dress up, just like having my daughter in school now. It's all fun stuff. It's all lovely, but it was, I wasn't quite prepared or expecting it. I don't know why. I should have been. My other mom friends were like talking about it, but I just was like, whoa, this is a lot going on. And I also made a mistake on the schedule. So we ended up doing a couple things twice. So that didn't help either. But it's done. It happened. It was great. In retrospect, it was lovely. It just happened to be a bit wild. And this year, Christmas was a bit different in our house. So if you've been following for a while or been here for a while, you know that my husband and I separated in August. So this would have been our first, or this was our first Christmas, obviously, without mom and dad in the same home. And we did what we could. And I think it was great. I'm really grateful for his involvement and my involvement in our just ability to still be in the same room together. Um, so what happened is we had the kids stayed at my house and then he came over early in the morning. So we still did presents together. We did, I don't know if we had breakfast. I don't think we had. Yeah, we had breakfast. We had breakfast and presents, and we did like the Christmas morning together. And he was actually here before the kids got up, so I think it was really nice. It felt really good. The kids seemed to have a good time. So it was also super stormy on Christmas, so it was just kind of a weird. There was no snow. It wasn't that cold. It was wet. It was very windy, and their travel plans changed. So he then took the girls on Boxing Day. He took them for 3 days to his family's Christmas. And that was a long time. 3 days felt like a long time without my kids. And it was also one of those times where we're not really communicating a bunch throughout the days, which we maybe normally would have if we had still been together, because, I really want to make sure that he gets his space and his time with the kids and that they have uninterrupted time. Because sometimes when I call, it kind of ruins the vibe because I think just because maybe the kids miss me, but it's well, because the kids miss me, that's the answer. But anyway, so there was less communication, and so I had a lot of space, which was beautiful and I'm really, really grateful for. And it was really challenging at the time. I was so bored, you guys. Like I just have not felt boredom in that way in a long time. And I laugh about it because I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean bored? And it was one of those, like, I just didn't know what to do with myself, and I didn't feel like watching TV. I'd watched all the Christmas movies. I didn't want to be on my phone. It was just like I was kind of, I guess, tapped out in that way, like just kind of touched out in that way. And I said I want to do that. I didn't want to read a book. I just like didn't want to do anything. I was slowly cleaning up my house, putting away the Christmas tree. Like I loved that I was able to get all that stuff down. And yeah, so it took like a good day and a half, maybe even, yeah, a day and a half to settle in. I had really intense moments of grief. I had really intense moments of sadness, moving through all of the things that you move through on a Christmas, your first Christmas, when your kids are not here with you and your family has essentially broken up. Like it was a lot. It was a lot to sit with, but I also think it was really purposeful and I was meant to sit in those emotions because to have that space to just sit in those emotions, I know is not always available. And so I really wanted to take that opportunity. It was such an opportunity to sit in what is, in all of the discomfort and joy and gratitude and grief and sadness and all of these things, and just literally sit in it. I was sitting on the couch and it felt really good to just sit in the quiet on the couch and just let it kind of not even wash over me, but just like settle. Because it felt like internally, energetically, neurologically, like everything was just so busy. And I was trying to keep myself busy. I didn't want to feel the boredom. I didn't want to feel that space. Really, it was uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable. And it actually reminded me a lot of like the last period of pregnancy before baby is born, when you like no baby's going to be born, but you're in that liminal space of like, what do I do with this time? You don't really want to do anything, but you don't know how to not do anything. And it's very like, I should be doing more, but like my body doesn't really want to do more. It was really interesting. So I wanted to take that opportunity. I didn't want to waste that opportunity. So I just sat. There was moments where I just sat. And then after I had that opportunity, I was like, I want to do something that I haven't done or haven't been allowing myself to do or haven't created the space for. And so I took myself snowshoeing. I went up the mountain where I live. There's a mountain that I can get to quite easily. And I took myself snowshoeing. Not something I would do with my 2 and 5-year-old right now, although I would like to take them up skiing. So I did that. I went to a spin class. I did a little bit of journaling, manifestation stuff for getting ready for 2025, which not a lot. Like I didn't really take a lot of time for that. I wrote an email for work. Like I just was in the space and I let the day kind of unfold, and it was so wild. And I'm really glad that I did that. I'm really glad that I did that. I almost, part of me is like, oh, I should have done that more, because I did. I did a lot of distracting activities as well because it was freaking uncomfortable. Like, so I watched some TV, I scrolled on my phone, I had a bath. Oh, I used a new, I think I talked about this on the other podcast, but I um, just received a cervix wand. So I was like playing around with how to use that properly and how to experience that. And so like I got to spend some like time with myself, which felt good. It felt needed. It felt really, really necessary. So that's what I've been up to. And now my kids are home. They got home yesterday. They're with their dad again now for a little bit while I do this kind of thing. But I'm very like, I'm in a good place. Things are feeling good. I'm feeling ready for 2025. So in this podcast today, I kind of wanted to go through some wins, kind of a reflection on the year gone by on a personal level for me, and then talk about kind of what I'm doing to prepare for 2025. I'm not a huge like ritual person, New Year ritual person, but it is a really cool time to just sit in reflection of the year gone by and think about, okay, now what do I anticipate or hope for in this next coming year? So what I wanted to go through is a couple of wins first, kind of shifts. This has been a really shifting year for me. There's been a lot of change, a lot of movement, a lot of just like redirection is what it feels like for me. And I don't know how that's going to play out in the next year, but I'm really working on letting go of the control of what that looks like and how that pans out, and just allowing the what is to settle, so then I can find that space in my body to just kind of let it find me. Does that make sense? Like let us kind of find each other when the timing is right. So obviously the biggest thing that has happened this year is my husband and I separated in August. So like a little bit more than halfway through the year. And it has been a journey. I have another podcast that I talked about conscious separation, because when we decided to separate, we did it together. We made the decision. Obviously there was a lot of like hard stuff. There was fighting. There was just a lot of friction in the home, but we both decided like we need we need space. We need to be apart. He decided to move out. And that was a huge shift. Like it was big. And then we have to decide, like, okay, well, what do we do? Like, how do we communicate this to the kids? How do we make this happen? And so we didn't tell them until he actually moved out. um, for the month of August, he was kind of we were like working around each other very, very well, might I add. It worked well, but it was a lot of logistical planning, but we didn't tell them until a month later. And anyway, I digress on that. There's a whole podcast on that. But so we separated, and that actually like gave way to a whole bunch of other changes. That is what led to us putting my daughter into kindergarten, which is not something that I wanted to do. I wanted to keep her and homeschool her. That was my whole plan. That was what I wanted to do. However, I'm really glad we put her into school. It, for her, feels like a really good move. It's been a really great opportunity for me to reevaluate my view on public school and what it can be, and how I can be involved, and how I can still play a part and really kind of be involved in her education. And she's thriving. Like, I cannot deny that. She is having a great time. And I'm really happy for that experience. So we put her into kindergarten. That was a big move for me. I ran my first half marathon, which was a big win. Like, that wasn't even something I was planning throughout the year. That wasn't something that I manifested or wanted to like do. It was before my husband and I separated. We were both kind of figuring out, how can we become our best selves so that we can, we're just trying to make it work. So how can we work on ourselves and become the best versions of us so that we can make our family work? And we still ended up separating, which is okay. But I decided at that moment, I was like, I'm going to sign up for a half marathon. I gave myself 8 weeks. I'm going to sign up for a half marathon. I've never done it before. I haven't run in years, like on a consistent basis. And I'm going to do this because I want to complete this. I wanted a goal, like something to work towards that I could be, doing, rather than kind of dwelling on the stuff that wasn't quite working at home. And so I did that. I ran that in October, and I did it in under 3 hours, which was a huge feat for me. I wasn't sure how I would do, because 8 weeks is not a long time to go from couch potato to half marathon runner. And I felt really good about that. So I want to celebrate that. I don't often think back and go like, wow, I did actually do a lot this year. Like, we went on a big road trip. We went down the Oregon coast, which is something I've been dreaming of doing for a long time. And so that happened. We camped. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was so, so good. Um, yeah. What else have I done? Oh, I've had some really hard conversations with people I love. I've moved our relationships to a deeper level, which is something that I'm really seeking in 2025, is more depth for my relationships with myself and with others. And I started to put some more pieces together around my own purpose and what I'm here for. And that may not sound like a lot, but for me, it's been such a journey to figure out, what the heck am I here for? Um, and so that's been very grounding and calming to kind of at least settle into a new version of that, versus what I think my purpose should be, or what I think it is, versus what it truly feels like within. So that's been neat. I've also worked with some incredible women and some incredible humans. I started doing Reiki at this at a clinic in a town, like just the next town over, and that's been really rewarding. I just kind of pulled back from that practice as all of these changes that have happened at the latter end of this year, but that's been really rewarding and wonderful. And I've connected with some amazing human beings like that I never really would have thought of. And so as I move into 2025, I'm reflecting on all that has happened for me without me necessarily planning it or setting it into motion, I should say. And so when I move into 2025, I really want to leave space for that, because for me personally, this may not be the same for you, but I have noticed that goals and specific manifestations and things, like, they feel cool to write down, but they never happen. They happen. They do. They happen in their own way, but never in the detail that I put down for them. So what I really want to um, focus on this year is just sinking into the feelings that I want to experience in 2025 rather than specific things that I need. Of course, I've got like a list of things that I want, a list of like manifestations that I would like to come forward and I would like to see come to fruition in 2025. But I'm not hanging on to the fact that those have to happen in 2025. What I'm really seeking instead is what I want to get out of those items. So I did this exercise of like, why do like, okay, so here I want a new home is what I want. Here's an example. I want a home. Why do I want a home? Why do I want a home? Why do I want a home? And get down to the root of what I want from that home. And what I want is this like sense of security and this sense of safety and this sense of what is the one that I'm thinking? Let's just start with that. So sense of security. And then like if I want a new car, okay, I definitely want freedom. So for me, the things that I want out of 2025 is I want to feel free. I want to feel peaceful. I want life to feel easeful and I want a lot of joy. I want these things to just be a part of what my life is. And then of course, and then I've got these like items that I would like to see. However, the first and foremost thing is I'm seeking those feelings, leaning into those feelings, and then however those sort of transpire and manifest into my life, then I'm open to that and excited for that rather than hanging on to the like material thing. So as I'm getting ready for this, I'm recognizing that with the space that I just had over these last 3 days, I'm recognizing that it's really important to not necessarily strive for the thing, but to allow my body to sink back and just be like let it come forward. Does that make sense? So instead of like, I want this, we can actually like sit into the body and be like, okay, well, why do I want that? What is that feeling that I'm seeking, that I'm looking for? So we ask ourselves 20 times or something like that to kind of get to the root of why we want something. And then, so we could do it that way, or we can sit with the body and we can ask our future selves. We sit in silence. We don't have to add too much to it. We just sit in silence. We let the, we let the brain settle. We let the thoughts come down. We bring our attention inward. We think about what does it feel like to be in my body right now? We let that energy settle and soften. However long it takes, it can take 5 minutes, it can take 20 minutes, it can take an hour, it can take however long you feel like you can sit. Because the practice is about sitting in your body, sitting in what is. And then we can ask our future self, like, who are you? What is around you? Ask yourself at the end of 2025, like, what does life look like? So instead of saying, like, I want this thing, we get to ask the future version of ourselves what it is that they have around them. And then we get, so it's like a softer way of asking what I want. What do I want? Instead of more like material things or things that we've seen, and they might be the same things that you are gunning for, but it's just a nice soft way to get to that place of like, what do I want out of 2025? And we can ask that later version of us, like, who are you, instead of determining who they are from the get-go, if that makes sense. So that's what I've been playing around with, and that's been really fun and enlightening. And what's so neat about it is I like every year I kind of get a little bit softer, and I don't think this is rare, but I feel like previously my goals were like make $1 million and start 7 businesses and do all these things, and now it's like I want to feel joy. I want to feel safe. you know I want to laugh with I want depth in my relationships. And I think what's kind of neat about this is there's like a solid grounding safety in coming from that lens, because you know that no matter what, everything's going to be fine. No matter how the year transpires, your foundation is joy, ease, peace. What else did I say? Safety, security. And so that's been really a kind of a nice way to approach it. Um, I also wanted to talk about too, like when you're sitting in the self, when you're kind of just like sitting. And this is something I wanted to bring up around my daughter too. So one of the things that we're doing, or that I'm kind of implementing in our public school experience, is it's really easy, and I'm noticing this as a parent, it's really easy to just go about the day and kind of pick up the kid, then keep going, and then bedtime and all of those like sort of details that have to happen in the parenting world that have to happen in the home. But one thing that we've started doing is she calls them midnight magics, midnight moonlight magics, which is really just after her sister falls asleep. And this doesn't happen every night because she doesn't her little sister doesn't always fall asleep before her, but when it does and we have the moment, I lay with her, my oldest, and we just talk and we ask each other questions. And sometimes they're silly questions and sometimes they're deeper questions. I got some questions on Pinterest, but it first started with us just talking. And what's beautiful about that space, like before bed, when the subconscious is kind of like a little bit more forward, she's feeling relaxed, it's so clear to me how much her mind is processing. She's processing everything. Like when we send our kids to school, this is not just kindergartners either. This is life, and this is all throughout the whole experience of school. At least that's what I can anticipate, is that we process so much. So she is not only learning new things, she's in a French immersion school too. So she's learning a new language, she's learning to read, she's learning social skills, she's learning how to be in the world without me. She's learning every single day. Every single day. And she's not just learning math and letters. She's learning all of these things. Like this is all in her mind. And maybe it's not learning is the wrong word, but like I notice at night, like, and sometimes it's hard for her to go to sleep, not because she feels anxious, but I can tell that she's processing, right? Like she's processing every interaction she's had on a subconscious level. She's processing all the interactions she's had that day. She's processing the new information she's received. She's processing that she's seeing people eat different food, like just every single detail of her day she's processing, and it's a different experience away from me because I don't know everything that she has processed because I haven't been there all day, so I can't speak to all of it. But what's interesting, or what I really have noticed, is we as parents we need to hold space for the processing of that information, and that can be really hard when we don't know how to process our own information. And so this was playing into when I was thinking about getting ready for 2025. I was like, have I processed 2024? Have I given myself the space to just process? Like when I work in clinic and I'm working with women, we're working with energy, 90% of my job is to sit there, hold space for energy to process. Because what happens is if we don't process, if our body doesn't process, the energy holds. And it's not just trauma that holds in the body, it's just energy. It is energy, it is information, it is stuff that just doesn't move through, and it's on a subconscious level. And so we're not like cognitively thinking about it, but it's there and it takes up space. And so when I was sitting here, just like sitting in silence, I was like, we don't do this enough. We don't just sit in silence with the self enough. Yes, you can meditate. Yes, you can do breath work. Yes, you can do all of these sort of active activities, but you can also passively let your body process by just like sitting there and noticing the sensations in your body and just like letting your mind wander. Because as we let our mind wander, that allows for the processing of the information, for the energy, etc. And so what's great about laying with Ava at night and just like having these conversations, not only do I get information about her day because she is open and we're talking and she's sharing and she's letting me know, and she's 5. So sometimes the information is random and sometimes the information is like, wow, that's really important. Thank you for sharing that with me. Um, and so what the point I want to get across is that we need to hold space for our kids to process all of this information somehow, some way. We need to allow it to move through their body in their own way instead of just going through the day, going through the motions of the day, because we forget about all of that subconscious learning that's happening. But don't forget that you are a piece of that puzzle too. And in order for you to hold that space for your children, you need to also hold that space for yourself. And I haven't been doing that especially over the last month. I've really been in this motion of like Christmas, getting ready for Christmas, doing all the things day to day, because without a second pair of hands in the house, you kind of you have to, and you do that. That's fine. However, I have not made space for that processing. So these last 3 days has been amazing. And as I want to do this again, as I go into 2025, before we go into the new year tomorrow, I want to sit with myself again. And I'm going to do that tonight probably. Just sit and just let stuff happen. You don't have to be actively always making things happen. The body, we talk about this in pregnancy all the time. The body is this miraculous thing. It's doing all this beautiful stuff. It's growing a human. And at the same time, it doesn't have to just apply to pregnancy. This applies to all stages of life as well. The body is doing all of this incredible stuff on its own, pumping your heart, digesting your food, your nervous system is moving, like your blood is moving, your air is going in and out, like it is, your body is working. And so we forget so often that the body is capable and that we don't have to cognitively do things all the time. We don't have to move things forward. So sometimes we just sit in our body and let our body do the work. Sometimes you just have to sit in your body and let your body do the work it is designed to do. And I think that's really important because I talk a lot about that in terms of pregnancy, but we forget that the day to day is similar as well. The body knows what it's doing. And when the body doesn't know what it's doing and the body trips up is when we cognitively are interrupting it. So, as you move into 2025, let yourself sit with the body, with the mind, with the heart, with the energy, and just let your body be. Let it be. Let it be. And I promise you, you will start to notice things come forward that may surprise you. They may feel really good. Some of them may feel really uncomfortable. But the beautiful part about that is that you are safe in your body and your body knows what it's doing. And so our minds are miraculous things. We don't always need to stop our minds. Our minds are incredible too. But sometimes our mind gets caught up in the moving forward and we can just sit. Let the mind relax. Let the mind settle. Let it all move down, ground it. And just like, thank your body. Sit in gratitude. How lucky am I that my body does all this for me? Anyway, I wish you a very, very, very happy new year. I look forward to seeing you next week. Don't forget, on the 12th of January, myself and Kelsey Calloway are going to be hosting a prenatal retreat, a one-day retreat in the Comox Valley for anybody who is expecting a baby and is looking to feel held and supported and just like to have that space. We will hold that space for you so that you can get to that root. So you can let the body do what it needs to do, both mentally, physically, and also reproductively, just letting the body do what it's designed to do and finding trust and depth in that. So I'll put the information down below if you're interested in that. We have a few spots still available. And yeah, I am so grateful that you're here. Thank you for being here. Have a beautiful new year, and we'll see you next week.